I was particularly intrigued with the theme of the conference, Fresh Visions, Old Realities, and New Possibilities. Because in the run-up to going to post, I had about 3 or 4 months of study time. And in that time, I had consultations with all of the previous ambassadors going back to about 1988, including Ford Fraker, who's not here. And I've got to tell you, I have great respect for this group of gentlemen to my left. They were generous both with their time, their thoughts, and their ideas. And one thing that I found was very intriguing is that each of them was there at a unique time. Because over the last 15 years, every 2 to 3 years has marked kind of an era of its own. So I'm going to limit my comments this morning to defining what I see this era like that I am stepping into. And the first thing I would tell you, it is not 2001, it is not 2003, and it is not 2004. So as an American, if you formed an opinion about Saudi Arabia or Saudis in the aftermath of 9/11, it's time to rethink your position. And as a Saudi, if you formed an opinion about the United States and Americans in the aftermath of that, it is time to rethink your opinion. That was 8 years ago. Ours is an era of hope and expectation. Admiral Fallon, I think, was spot on when he defined the window of opportunity created by President Obama. It's also a window of opportunity created by His Majesty King Abdullah, who led the Arab Peace Initiative, the Interfaith Dialogue, a whole range of modernization initiatives culminating with the inauguration of CAUS. And if you were not there last month, you missed something because it was stunning. Not just the optics, but the image of what this represents as a top-end graduate degree granting institution in Saudi Arabia. But it's an era of hope and opportunity. President Obama, probably the only person in the world that could have gone to Cairo and given that speech. And he went through one by one the geostrategic challenges of the day, and I would tell you that for most every challenge facing this nation, there is a crossroads in Riyadh that we have to use and think of the words that our president used, which were listen, respect, trust, because this is a much more nuanced, complicated, and I would argue more important relationship than it has ever been in the past. But some would say it's just a speech. You've got to deliver on the promise of Cairo. And whose responsibility is that? It is mine, and it's yours. And I say yours because as you come to visit me, as a businessman, as an educator, or as a think tank individual, I will share that responsibility with you. Because if you're trying to work a business opportunity, I will describe the King's vision of where he's trying to take this economy and create jobs, and we will help solve his problem as we're trying to build the relationships between our two peoples. And I will share that responsibility with you. And together, we will figure out how to deliver on the promise of Cairo. But there are some unique challenges that we face in the diplomatic presence in Saudi Arabia. And it's the byproduct of what happens when you spend 8 years building walls. Because we have been building walls since 9/11, physical walls. Saudi has been an unaccompanied post now for 5 years. So you come on 1-year rotations. So it takes you 4 months to learn your job, and you do it for 6 months, and then you rotate. And you continue to build walls and fences and wires. And where you were there to represent the American people to the people of Saudi Arabia, you find yourself migrating into only 3 cities. And in fact, you migrate into single buildings in individual cities instead of out everywhere. And actually, it's worse than that because of the single-year rotation policy. You end up migrating into single sections of individual buildings in 3 cities. We have got to figure out how to start taking down walls. I see my biggest challenge over the next 2 years is how to figure out developing friendships without fences, relationships without barriers. Even if you can't change the physical dynamic, we have got to get out and represent the American people to the people of Saudi Arabia. And I would argue that this description of our diplomatic presence is a microcosm of the relationship between our people. And until we increase the number of students going back and forth, increase the number of businessmen forming relationships, increase in the trade missions, then you will have people who formed an opinion in 2001, and it hasn't changed, and it is wrong. Thank you.